when we last left off, Joshua had taken over the southern part of Canaan. After that, then he went after the north, and he once that was taken care of, then he divided the land amongst the 12 tribes, and it was time for peace, okay, amongst his people. Lessons they learned when that was going on was to trust God and to obey him and to be courageous. If they did all that, guess what? They were victorious. If they didn't, they were defeated. What God wanted them to learn is that you needed to rely on him and not humans. Okay? So now we're going to be starting to read about possessing the promised land. So they wandered in the desert for 40 years. And now it took about 30 years to go and defeat all the armies in the promised land. They're settled down and everything. And so Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob's promise from God, that had been fulfilled. Okay, so finally that had been fulfilled. And they want them to be, have peace and rest. But God, he's not done. And so he's not done. He wants for the people to bless. He wants the people of God to bless all the nations. Okay. Years go by. Joshua dies at about 110 years old, and before that happens, he challenges the Hebrews to serve the Lord, and they unanimously promise to do so. They're like, yes, we will serve the Lord. But we're humans, or they were humans, and once Joshua died, they forgot it. Okay? So they start to take on pagan rituals, okay? And some of them take on pagan rituals, some forget about God. So we're at right now, where are we going in the Bible? So for the next 325 years, God's people will go through cycles of disobedience, punishment, confession, and then restoration, okay? They forget God, start worshiping the idols, going against the 10 Commandments and everything. An enemy punishes them. People go and cry for God to, for deliverance. He sends a judge. They return to go and obey, and then so on, and so on, and so on. It's about 1,375 BC, so about 1,300 years, almost 400, almost 1,400 years before Jesus was born, okay? Egypt is still the world power, the major world power at that time, and they are an emerging nation. So they are just starting, okay? Okay, so, so let me back up. Okay, so pattern, it's a cyclical thing. Oppressive enemies arise. They surround the promised land and attack. Okay, different tribes. Remember, there's 12 different tribes and everything. And there's some judges that have good influence over the area, while others were gross, didn't do what they needed to do. Okay. Sometimes peace was reigning, and other times violence and discord. So there's 12 judges. But then the people wanted a king. Okay. God is with his people, but the people are not with God. Okay. They ignored him. They ignored their law. They do they do whatever seems right in their eyes instead of God's eyes. Okay. And then, so God chooses leaders to free his people. Each one foreshadows the ultimate leader, savior, redeemer, Jesus. Jesus will free them from their bonds, but Jesus will not be fighting merely against flesh and blood enemies, but against the pervasive powers of sin and death, okay? He raises up the judges to free his people and to restore a relationship with him, okay? I mean, and all those judges point towards Jesus, even though he was, as I said, 1,300 to 1,400 years away from being born. And so they are in, the Promised Land is about the size of New Jersey, so you think about that. And it's divided up into, you know, 12 portions for each of the 12 tribes, I'm sorry. Okay. So we're going to read about one judge, and she's a female judge. Her name is Deborah. I'm going to go and read Judges 4, 1 through 24, about Deborah. And I did a book, a Bible study about Deborah. So, after Ehud's death, the Israelites again did evil in the Lord's sight. So the Lord turned them over to King Jabin of Hazor, a Canaanite king. The commander of his army was Sisera, who lived in Harosheth Hagoyim. Sisera, who had 900 iron chariots, ruthlessly oppressed the Israelites for 20 years. Then the people of Israel cried out to the Lord for help. Deborah, the wife of Lapidoth, was a prophet who was judging Israel at the time. She would sit under the palm of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in the hill country of Ephraim, and the Israelites would go to her for judgment. So, you know, to find out, you know, how they can help the Lord, basically. So one day she sent for Barak, the son of Abinadab, who lived in Kadesh in the land of Naphtali. She said to him, "This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, commands you. Call out 10,000 warriors from the tribes of Naphtali and Zebulun at Mount Tabor. And I will call out Sisera, commander of Jabin's army, along with his chariots and warriors to the Kishon River. There I will give you victory over him." Barak told her, "I will go, but only if you go with me." "Very well," she replied, "I will go with you, but you will receive no honor in this venture, for the Lord's victory over Sisera will be in the hands of a woman." Okay, so some woman, not Deborah, some other woman is going to save him. So Deborah went with Barak to Kadesh, and at Kadesh, Barak called together the tribes of Zebulun and Naphtali, and 10,000 warriors went with him. Deborah also went with him. Now Heber the Kenite, a descendant of Moses' brother-in-law Hobab, had moved away from the other members of his tribe and pitched his tent by the oak of Zaanannim near Kadesh. When Sisera was told that Barak, the son of Abinadab, had gone up to Tabor, he called for all 900 of his iron chariots and all his warriors, and they marched from Harosheth Hagoyim to the Kishon River. Then Deborah said to Barak, "Get ready. This is the day the Lord will give you victory over Sisera, for the Lord is marching ahead of you." So Barak led his 10,000 warriors down the slopes of Mount Tabor into battle. When Barak attacked, the Lord threw Sisera and all his chariots and warriors into a panic. Sisera leaped from his chariot and escaped on foot. Then Barak chased the chariots and the enemy army all the way to Harosheth Hagoyim, killing all of Sisera's warriors. Not a single one was left alive. Meanwhile, Sisera ran to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite, because Heber's family was on friendly terms with King Jabin of Hazor. Jael went out to meet Sisera and said to him, "Come to my tent." "Sir, come in. Don't be afraid." So he went in her tent, and she covered him with a blanket. "Please give me some water," he said. "I'm thirsty." So she gave him some milk from a leather bag and covered him again. "Stand at the door of the tent," he told her. "If anyone comes and asks you if anyone is here, say no." But Sisera fell asleep from exhaustion. Jael quietly crept up to him with a hammer and tent peg in her hand. Then she drove the tent peg through his temple and into the ground, and so he died. When Barak came looking for Sisera, Jael went out to meet him. She said, "Come, and I will show you the man you are looking for." So he followed her into the tent and found Sisera lying there dead with a tent peg through his temple. So on that day, Israel saw God defeat Jabin, the Canaanite king. And from that time on, Israel became stronger and stronger against King Jabin until they finally destroyed him. Okay. Kind of graphic. Okay? Kind of graphic. We have a guest who's trying... He likes my Bible studies, so he's right here with me. Gosh, dog. Okay. Some notes that I wrote from my Bible study, there's a few, is that God equips all of us, so that God equipped Deborah to be able to lead. He also equipped Jael to do what she needed to do, which is kind of like, you think barbaric, but at the same time, she had to take a lot of courage to do that. You want to put your hand in here? There he is. Okay, so I gotta... Okay, so... so this is said before, as I said before, I'm sorry. There is this constant cycle of judges coming up, coming to lead and everything. People going back to God. Judge dies. They go back to their old ways. Okay? And then there's Deborah steps is one of the judges, and it was very rare that it was a woman that was going to be a judge. Okay, it was rare, but it certainly happened. It was more of a male-dominated society. Okay, Deborah's strong faith made her fearless among Israel's enemy. Jael was sympathetic to the Hebrews' cause. She bravely and cleverly used her skills. So she was used to moving tents from place to place. Okay, so she really knew how to drive tent pegs into the ground. So it was easy for her to crush the enemy. So again, we talk about different gifts and talents and everything. God still uses that. He finds your spiritual. He gives you a spiritual gift, but he also uses those gifts to further his plan for his kingdom. Okay, so I'm going back to Jael. So it says that she gave him this milk, and then tucked him back in, and then after that's when she, put the tent peg. So it's probably goat's milk, probably curdled, probably was like a consistency of a yogurt. And if we think about it, milk has a sleep-inducing qualities. So here is Jael. She has offered hospitality, and then she murders. Basically, let's just be real. She murdered him, okay? That is a horrendous crime even back then. What is very interesting is that Jael's name means mountain goat. Deborah means bee. So, Israel, a land that's flowing with milk and honey, is saved by a mountain goat and a bee. With that, be blessed. I will join you next time, next time we will read about Gideon. which is Judges 6. So the next one judge we'll read about is Gideon. Okay. That be blessed.